Hey guys,
Hey David, we're just looking for you. I was like, okay,
sorry about that.
let me go find David's email and phone number. All right.
I'm
Awesome.
here. I'm here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, David. Thank you for taking out your time to speak to our students. Welcome you to this presentation session. I would
Absolutely.
like to briefly go over the logistics for today's event. We have put up audio and video recording notice, so I encourage all students and participants to make sure that you're aware that this meeting is being recorded. Um, if you would like not to be recorded, you are welcome to keep your audio shut off and your video shut off. So please feel free to do so. You can always chat your questions in the chat box. With that said, I would like to now start off by introducing David. David Ume, the founder of CaClouty, is a forward-thinking executive with a demonstrated history of leading teams to success. David is a three-time founder who has achieved success repeatedly at the intersection of innovation and thoughtful execution. Prior to finding CaClouty, David was the founder of High Speed Technologies Incorporation, the first legal cannabis delivery service in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. With those few words, I now welcome David to take over and go ahead, introduce himself in detail, and also continue with his presentation. David, thank you once again. It's all yours.
Of course, of course. Thank you, Shazad, for the kind introduction. The team at IIT, it's a pleasure to meet you guys. Congratulations on all your progress thus far. Like Shazad said, my name is David, and I am the founder of a startup, an idea that started out. I'm the founder of a startup that went from an idea to becoming a full-fledged company. The reason why I'm here at IIT because one of the verticals that we are in with CaClouty is finance. CaClouty has developed something that we like to call music futures. And so let me go ahead and get into it. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So yeah, guys, just a quick background on CaClouty in a nutshell, or just on me in a nutshell. I studied economics at Hampton University in Virginia. Um, while studying economics, I always had a passion for media, arts, and entertainment, and I had my first opportunity to work at a company called BT as a production manager. From BET, I was then poached to start to join the launch team at Revolt Media. There, I worked under a guy named Tuma Basa in the programming department as an editor. Tuma Basa is now the global head of music at YouTube. From Revolt, I went to a place called Hip Hop DX, where me and a guy named James Kreisberg helped to spearhead the visual media arm of that company that has now been acquired by Warner Music Group. After that experience, I really realized that I had pure access and understanding now of the corporate initiatives that drove sales from media to management to the artist all the way down to the end user, which is the fan and consumer. Um, that was a rich experience for me, and the connections that I built from that world were incredible. I took a break from that industry and forayed into complete entrepreneurship, where I launched High Speed, as Shazad said, which was the first legal cannabis company in Washington, D.C. It was a crazy experience navigating regulatory oversight. The company completely blew up in a good way. We expanded to Boston the following year, 2017. And then we started lobbying with a company called Capolino and Co. in New York. Our big bet was that cannabis was going to go legal in 2019, and that didn't happen. I bootstrapped that company to about 4 million in revenue, 4 million ARR within our third year, and with no investors. And so having no investors gave us the privilege of uh, changing lanes a bit. At the time, banking and cannabis was so premature that, our goal of being a cashless, seamless platform was kind of throttled a little bit. And so that's around the time that I came up with the concept for CaClouty. And I double backed into kind of the world of music. And I moved to Chicago, where I learned about the world of risk management and futures, and realizing that music is a widely undervalued asset, And here goes my presentation. So CaClouty, the world's first music futures exchange. Societies are de facto defined by their markets. Until now, the data and technology have not been present for music to have a global market of its own. Music de facto is an asset, and trading on the data behind it makes it a commodity. We're at an inflection point. In 2022, music is making headlines in ways that we've never seen before, and capital markets, as you know, have shifted in ways that we've never seen before either. Alternative assets have become an essential component of investment portfolios. Innovation has made it easier to create a market. It's made market access easier for retail investors, and technology has just allowed for market operators to scale. Right, the biggest thing when it comes to any market is liquidity. And so as market participation increases, the platforms and technology and services out there allow for market operators to cater to these new asset classes. So CaClouty sits at the intersection of finance and music, reimagining the value by making it a tradable asset. We've seen large financial players all fighting for exposure in music. In 2021 alone, PIMCO pledged to use over $1 billion acquiring catalog rights. It's almost every day we see people like Bruce Springsteen, Sting, Tina Turner, all these people selling their royalties for exuberant amounts. And if you notice, the people who are buying them are large financial players like Apollo, Goldman, Vivendi, KKR, Blackstone, BlackRock. It's a very interesting observation. When it comes to derivatives, we know that the derivatives market is huge, right? It seems to amplify every single market that it touches. Initially, my thesis was that music is a sport, right? All the parallels were there, from the athlete to the artist, the audience to the fans, the stage, the arena, the awards, the championships, the coaches, and even to the managers. But what seemed to be missing was the data. For some reason, when it comes to sports, those statistics are widely available. Even when you look at finance, those statistics are widely available in order to make an informed decision. But with music, it felt like all of that data was kind of hidden behind a veil. So that was very interesting to me. So what CaClouty does, we offer people a new way to engage with the songs they love and they're invested in. So there's a retail side and an institutional side. Just touching on the fact of music being an asset and a commodity, it's always being consumed. It surrounds us wherever we go, and technological advances have helped to enhance the way we consume it, i.e. streaming. CaClouty is uniquely positioned to introduce the trading of music data, and it's a novel offering in a space that's very traditional. So 10 years ago, this simply couldn't have happened, right? With physical downloads, it's hard to actually compute who's listening to what and where. And as you see over time, as we've shifted to streaming, and Goldman Sachs put out a study last year about the fact that streaming has only reached about 35% of its global potential. So it's interesting to see that with streaming, we've been able to actually find the spot price. And so what we did at CaClouty is that we benchmarked the first financial index for songs. We start off with a composite index that compiles the top 500 multiplied by the price paid out per stream. And after our composite, we've broken it down to every single genre. We're starting with a family of indexes to begin with, but to be honest with you, the possibility is infinite. And so just to touch on that one more time, we use raw consumption numbers and music publishing data to figure out the spot price. We use a scaler to bring it down to a tradable amount in the same way that they do with the S&P. And this is huge, right? Index providership is a long-standing way for people to track assets and the movement of that. And this slide right here kind of shows you a little bit of our formula, and it touches on the possibilities that can happen with that. It's really been interesting to see how we've been able to run financial statistics on some of this music data, and you see negative beta, you see positive beta, you see different kind of correlations, and you see volatility with different genres. It's really interesting to see how big institutions will be able to hedge their exposure, and then also the streaming providers who have to pay out these exuberant amounts of money on a weekly basis to the level that people stream. And just like with any other commodity in the market, it's affected by geopolitical things that happen as well. For example, in Russia, Spotify cut off all the subscription for people who were, listening to Spotify there. But guess what that did to the market? people in Russia now going to Apple Music to listen. And guess what? Apple Music has to pay out a lot more money now on that weekly basis. So if our financial instrument had been in place with this composite index, they could have locked in a price before that happened, or as they see the shift in that trend. We've been able to not only find the spot price, but break down the spot price with every single genre. This right here is with simulated data from 47 weeks in 2021. Currently, we are working to analyze historical data all the way back from 2005. It's been really fun to break it down. And just for clarity, the name of our index is the MUSIQ. It's funny because that Q at the end kind of reminded me of NASDAQ. And interestingly enough, NASDAQ Ventures is actually going to be joining our next round. So it's been an interesting journey as we uncover the story behind this data. I'm probably telling you guys nothing that you don't know already, but index providership is huge and it always has been. Funny enough, I think the first index fund was created here in Chicago. So it feels really special to be here, right? And that wasn't that long ago. So just to see how we're combining a proven model to a new asset class, it's going to be interesting. Between us, currently, we're working with Bloomberg to publish the index. So you'll be seeing that in Q2. And we're excited to, because this is significant. Our second offering, now that we have the index, we're going to be using it as the underlying basis for cash settled contracts and index futures contracts with margin. This is how the institutional players that have the access to have the exposure to these royalties will be able to hedge their risk. This is also how the streaming providers that are paying out the royalties on a weekly basis will be able to hedge the amount that they have to pay in the future. We are applying to be a CFTC approved designated contract market. And with that, we're going to be offering direct access with retail players to enter the market as well. So we have solidified a clearing partner that has direct access for cash settled contracts. And there are two different ways that we're going to go about this. To cater to the institutional side, we're going to be working with CME to list our products on their exchange, just some of the flagship institutional size products. And so that'll happen before we even get our CFTC approved DCM, which will make way for us to gain credibility and notoriety for our index, and B, to make sure that the sides that really have that hedge, that really have that exposure, can hedge their risk. On the retail side, which is going to be direct access, music is inherently fun, right? Everybody loves music. Well, I don't know about everybody, but I would say about 8.5 out of every 10 people love music. And so everybody thinks that they know what's right. Some say that opinions were the first asset class. And so our markets allow people to make predictions and to go long or short on things that they think are happening in music. It's interesting to see how this idea has evolved from being what I thought to be a consumer product to now having a B2B angle and a B2B2C angle. On the retail side, places like DraftKings and FanDuel, they love music as well. And they know that music is something that gets people going in the same way that sports do. So some of our binary options, like the one I showed in the previous slide, we're going to be offering to those companies in forms of private API keys. That is going to be a big how can I say this? It's going to be a big way for us to gain access to millions of consumers who are already trading on sports, for lack of better words. And then on the B2C side, artists, fans, marketers, retail traders, anybody who already engages in that kind of activity, now they have direct access to the liquidity in music that has famously been kept away. And so we're excited to get the same people who are on Twitter already making these predictions a way for them to actually have access to the markets themselves. And then, as I listed in the previous few slides, the institutions like KKR, BMG, Spotify, Tencent, Sirius, and market makers and liquidity providers, they will be able to truly use our products to manage their risk. It's really exciting, I'm not going to lie. And just the whole process has been a crazy journey to get to this point. A designated contract market, there's only 16 that exist in the US, I think maybe 17, and CaClouty will be the 18th. We've been finding that they're highly valuable. In fact, the two examples that I have here, they barely launched over 2 years ago before being acquired. With CaClouty, my intention is not to sell the business. I would like to take it public, just because I know that the total addressable market for this is huge, right? Music is not something that just lives in the United States. Music is global, from from Asia to Africa to India to Latin America. I mean, it has a global influence, always has, always will. And as streaming touches new parts of the world, people will start to be able to have access to indexes based on where they are geographically. Uh, in order to make all this really, really stick and for us to truly monetize off of our innovation, having that intellectual property lockdown is serious. And so I have what says here a shark-filled moat. We've filed provisional patents for our system's architecture. We've trademarked the names Clouty, MUSIQ, and Chart the Future as our slogan. We have a combination of trade secrets, patents, copyrights, and trademarks in a way to make sure that when we are licensing and talking to these places, when it comes to deal flow and deal structure, that we are protected and that we are making sure that we do well. I mean, some people call CME the devil, and it's not for no reason. It's because these places know how to corner the market. They have done it for a long time. And so we want to make sure that we're protected as we enter these huge arenas. Moving along. So yeah, Clouty started in 2019. Like I said, it started off as an idea in a group chat. I met my technical co-founder at a tech conference in the Bay Area. I think it was TechCrunch, to be honest. And, I had a presentation video of my initial thesis of music being a sport at the time. And, he thought it was genius so that he could build a scrappy version. And we built that. And during the pandemic, when sports went down, we got a feature from Bleacher Report, which is one of the largest sports platforms globally. And they posted us, and we had like over 5,000 users come into our site, training, emailing us, asking us if this was real, asking us if they could work for the company, just asking us all types of questions. And that's when I realized this is something that could really take off. We did that 3 more times, and we measured retention across each of the cohorts. And we were able to close our pre-seed round at the end of the fall last year. With that, I was able to hire a really solid team, that I'm proud of, that's super smart, well-versed in the company, well-versed in different spaces like data, music, and finance. And we benchmarked and created that proprietary index and the related contracts. Our application for the CFTC is in process. It's about a 6-month approval wait period. So we look to launch our exchange with direct access in the fall. Before that, like I said, in Q2, we're going to be disseminating the index via Bloomberg. And then in the summer, we're going to be listing the first contract with CME. So we have a whole roadmap that we're ready to roll out. And we're really looking for smart, inquisitive, and trailblazing type minds to come on board and be a part of Clouty's rocket ship. There's a couple seats left, So here's the team. Some of you may know Joseph. He actually goes to IIT. I'm Ben Van Fleet at FIA Expo in Chicago in November. He loved the idea, and he must have told some students, because I had about 3 or 4 messages on LinkedIn, and I actually sat down and met with Joseph. He he's very well versed when it came to finance. I think that's a testament to how good the program is, and ever since then we've been working together, and we were able to really construct this index methodology and identify the direct commercial use on the institutional side. We already knew that the retail side was a hit. Catherine Cooper, she's our regulatory specialist. In this industry, talent is one thing, but also relationships is another. So Catherine has been at the top of her game working with future regulators in the CFTC for the last 30 years. And so she really took a liking to Clouty. I was introduced to her by a guy named Brian Walsh, and ever since then, the company has been on the up and up. So we're really happy to have her on board. Nicholas Canova, our head of data, he comes from the world of sports. He built his own college basketball analytics platform, scaled it out, has over 30 D1 basketball teams signed on the platform, male and female. When I met him, he was a data scientist for the Golden State Warriors, and then he went on to do some data consulting for the Knicks. And so he's bringing all that experience to the world of music. So, in order for Joseph to really compute the methodology, the data is very important. And so we've been able to get exclusive contracts for our data. And Nick has been able to massage that, compute it, transform it so that we can really see the story behind it. And last but not least, Isaiah, our head of engineering, who's a pure stud. He recently was at Dividos that got acquired by US Health, and he's a true leader at heart, and coding is therapeutic for him. And so as we had to rebuild our infrastructure from the ground up and make sure that it was scalable, that could handle the millions of dollars in transactions and the security that we need to protect our data and our market structure, He's been leading the charge and efforts on that. And last but not least, you have me. I'm just a little old guy. No big deal. Don't worry about me. I'm annoying at some time. So that's David. Um, and we have, I can't forget about our strategic advisors, right? It's important to have a cabinet of people who can help guide you in the right direction. And I feel like we've done that here at Clouty. So Kelly Brown is one of our public directors. You actually need two public directors to be on your team for the CFTC approval that have been in the space in order to establish integrity for the company. Kelly Brown was at CME for about 15 years. Then he went to go and be a part of the team at ArisX as their CCO. And then he was most recently at FairX that got acquired by Coinbase in January. So he's bringing all of those industry experience and relationships and guidance to Clouty. Lauren Jarvis, she's a storied exec. She was at Spotify. She basically started their whole podcast department. She signed Joe Rogan. She signed Joe Budden. She was the one that acquired Gimlet, acquired Anchor on behalf of Spotify. And so she's bringing all of that to the world of Clouty. Brandon Yu is in private equity in the healthcare space here in Chicago. He hails from Harvard Business School. And so financial strategy is really his thing. And so he's been super, super impactful as we think about valuation, deal flow, moving the company in an ascending path. Max Adepoju, he's the director of music North America at Spotify. He and I used to work together at BET. We hadn't spoken in years, and when we circled back, his career had just elevated so much. And having his expertise and just thoughts on how we think about joining music and high finance has been super helpful. Akeem Jackson has been with clearing at Macquarie for about 6 years now. I was introduced to him through a friend in my building, actually, random. That's how sometimes these things are random. And he's been super helpful as we think about how we want to cater to both sides. And when I say cater to both sides, I mean, we want to have the retail appeal and we also want to have the institutional appeal. The legacy market is what it is, but we know that the future of financial markets looks a lot different than what it is right now, especially seeing what crypto did to it. So having him has been super incredible. Dan Hannigan, he built the sportsbook at DraftKings. He was like employee number 5. And so his whole expertise from knowing what a company like DraftKings wants to see when it comes to our APIs and how people engage from a UI UX perspective on the product angle, he's been super helpful with that. And last but not least, Jim Sullivan. He launched several indexes at the CME. He currently runs the North America sector of Stable, which is a commodity kind of platform offering. And he's been incredible. And he also introduced me to Jerry Corcoran, who's the CEO of RJ O'Brien, who's been a tremendous help as an industry titan in the futures space. RJ O'Brien is an FCM, futures commissions merchant, one of the oldest ones here in Chicago. And so it's just been an honor to have these people in our corner at Clouty. And so we're currently raising $5 million in our seed round that we should be closing in April. And the goal with that is to make sure that we're good with the CFTC. One of the requirements there is to make sure that we have enough to run the exchange for a year on a rolling basis. So we have that. We want to make sure we have it for the next couple of years on out. We're going to be raising our Series A in the fall. And we already have like the players for that. So it's just been it's been crazy. We also, like I said, we're going to be disseminating the MUSIQ index via Bloomberg. Just signed the NDA on Tuesday for that. So things are ramping up on that end. We also want to allow people to paper trade on the platform before we even launch the exchange. So that'll be exciting. Don't take the hires too seriously. We have some other positions that we're looking for, but we do know that we want kind of a COO type role head of exchange. We definitely want another senior engineer. We want some people in marketing as we begin to craft out our go-to-market strategy. And we also want to make some acquisitions. So people in biz dev who are good at kind of thinking about the best way to go about acquisitions and partnerships. We definitely want those kind of people as well. We're also looking for quantitative analysts. We're going to be bumping Joseph to our head of research, and we want to have a team that he can work with to make sure that we're being as innovative as possible at all times when it comes to our indices and the calculation and maintenance of those. Like I said before, business development is something that we're truly trying to make sure that we're in alignment with. Like, I just got off a call with a company called Chardin Capital, and they've done about 25 different SPACs. And so they really like Clouty. They want to be a part of the growth. And we want somebody in business development that can work with Chardin as they work with Clouty, from now to our Series A, B, and C up until IPO. We want some, and like I said, marketing experts. And last but not least, people who are into policy, right? A lot of the decisions that you make in finance are political decisions as much as they are business decisions. So we want to be mindful and thoughtful as we're continuing to do that. And so, yeah, that is the Clouty story in a nutshell. I'm happy to answer any questions. Curious what you guys think. But Shazad, let me know. Let me know if you have any questions, and yeah, we'll go from there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, David. I think this was very helpful. I have invited students to ask any questions. Let's see if we have any of those up. Yes, I think one of the students has asked if you're willing to hire international students, and thank you for your response to the chat.
We definitely want to hire international students. It's something that we've explored before. We've actually worked with some international students prior over the summer last year. So now that we're in a different space, we'd love to hire international students. That'd be great.
Awesome. Do you offer internships or just full-time positions? That's another question from our student.
We offer both, actually. We actually offer internships, full-time positions, and part-time positions. We want to make sure that the candidates do have the bandwidth. It's funny, Umesh, my last name is Ume, your name is Umesh. It just shows how related the world is. And interestingly enough, one of the guys that we're talking to at Bloomberg, his name is Umesh as well. But yes, I know that you guys are still in school right now, but we do offer internships, and we are eyeing for full-time. And there may be even a situation where we start off with the internship and then roll that into a full-time position.
Awesome. David, would you like to speak a little bit to the timeline? Like, when are you planning to recruit these students for these internships that you talked about?
So I guess my first question is for the students, or for you, Shazad. How early would the students be able to participate in an internship or start interviewing for full-time roles? I know that that the semester is still in session. So can anybody walk me through that?
Sure. That's a good question, David. So our students graduate in May. While domestic students can start at any time, our international students will actually have to go through a process of obtaining certain permits, CPT and OPT. Students who are in school will have to get CPT. Students who are generally out of school get OPT permits. But we can have an offline conversation on that, so I can actually explain to you how this whole process works. But in general, if you're looking to hire, say, students for internships, you could expect that they can start with you in the month of May, especially those who are international. Domestic students can start with you tomorrow if you find someone as suitable, someone as meeting your requirements. So they don't have any timeline restrictions, but international students do. And the earliest that they will be able to start will be May, I think 14th or 16th, somewhere around that time frame.
So I do want to make it as equitable as possible. So, it's making me feel some type of way that the domestic students can start before the international ones do. So I want to encourage the international students to feel free to reach out, even if you can't start till the summertime, and so that we can get the conversation started and still have a place for you. Yeah, just wanted to put that out there.
Awesome. That's very helpful. So you're looking to hire, say, starting from May. Is that a decent timeline?
Correct.
Perfect. And how would you like the students to go about applying?
So we're gonna create kind of like an Airtable, but to be honest with you, you have an advantage right now, given that we're growing. And so I encourage you guys to reach out to me on LinkedIn or email me. And if you have a resume, or just detail your interest, and I will field it with the team. And then we'll start to kind of formulate a series of conversations and then go from there. I think right now there's an advantage to do that. By the time the summertime comes, the only way that people will be able to have access to us is through Glassdoor or, any of the recruiting platforms. So for the next month or two, it's you can reach me directly, but after May, it may be tough, to be honest.
Awesome. Thank you, David. I think one of our students is already connected with you on LinkedIn. They don't waste any time. But yes, I think that would be a great way for our students to connect with you and take this conversation forward. They can also, once they're connected with you, they can send you an email with their resume. So anyone that's participating, if you're interested in joining CaClouty, please feel free to reach out to David, connect with David on LinkedIn, and then send out an email to David. David, would you like to just chat your email address as well here, if you think that is something that students can do? Awesome. So we have David's email address. So if you need to send David an email with your resume, please feel free to do so and indicate the interest, what area you are interested in working in at CaClouty.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, just be ready to be a part of a fast-growing team. Things are moving very fast. Everybody who's on the team is very interesting. I've been telling myself I need to stop downplaying the weight of the people that we've been working with. A lot of the people who have come into the CaClouty orbit they're really big deals. And because we're moving so fast, it's kind of like I feel like sometimes I downplay the significance. But yeah, what we're doing feels pretty historic. It hasn't been done before, and it fits right in to the existing structure of things. So it's no surprise that we've been getting a lot of attention. And yeah, so just to give you a little bit of a glimpse of like what things have been feeling like recently at CaClouty. Oh, and just to give you guys some background on the name CaClouty came from the weather, literally. Anytime I think of the clouds, I think of when the sun's going to come out again, when's it going to be raining next, forecasting essentially. And essentially that's what's happening as we track the data behind music, you're forecasting. Ironically, the artist that inspired the idea's name was Foggy. I didn't realize the significance and correlation until recently. But yeah, so that's where the name came from, cloudy, the weather, literally. And I just took out the D and put a T because clout is a necessary factor when it comes to volatility. You see things move up and down. And in music, sometimes clout is a part of that. So that's where the name came from.
Awesome, David. While students are still coming up with their questions, would you like to share some of the qualities that you would like to see in the students, some of the skill sets that you would like to see in them?
Yeah, sure. Inquisitive minds, right? We want to continue to have innovation be one of the things that represent CaClouty. So inquisitive minds, deep thinkers, quick thinkers, integrity. Because as a market, we have to be able to foster, we have to represent integrity. Great collaborators. We like everybody to be in sync, no silos. We're big on communication. And people who are not afraid to challenge things. So, we love people who like to speak up. And then I'm going to state the obvious, but we like people who like to work hard. I'm a hard worker. It took a lot of hard work to get to this point, and it's going to continue to take hard work to see it all the way through. So yeah, that goes without saying. And if you guys do have any questions that you want to ask offline, feel free to email me or add me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm happy to hop on a call. I look forward to working with a good number of you guys. And yeah, cheers to the future, pun intended.
Awesome. So if we don't have any other questions, then what we will do is bring this session to an end. Once again, I would like to take this opportunity to thank David for the time that he has taken out to talk to our students. And we all wish you the very best, David, as you continue in your journey. Once again, thank you very much, and we look forward to keeping in touch with you. I'd like to thank all the participants who have joined us for today's presentation. I encourage you all to take a look at next week's presentations and sign up. We have a couple of presentations coming up, April 6th and 7th. Please check Handshake and sign up for those events. With that, I'd like to bring this session to an end. Thank you all very much.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.